Let's see who has the best evidence for God.
So my favorite argument for God's existence is that I believe in free will.
Well, that's a switch, since according to Christianity, God knew how the entire universe would unfold before he created it, and had the knowledge and power to make it run a different way if he'd wanted. The conclusion of most Christians throughout history is that there is no free will, that the universe is deterministic, and so are we. It wasn't until the 1780s that the concept of libertarian free will was introduced, and it proved to be a major problem for religion, particularly Christianity. Now, free will is proof of God somehow. Let's see how he makes his case for it, and yes, I'm just gonna let him talk.
Okay, the reason that I think this is an argument for God's existence is because if you believe that human beings are essentially just balls of meat wandering around aimlessly in the universe, the kind of Spinoza's stone that thinks that it was moving of its own accord but actually was thrown, if you believe that and you don't believe in free will, then there's an internal coherence and logic to it. If you believe that you have the ability to make independent choices, that you can actually supersede your own biological drives and the environment around you to any extent, even to the smallest extent, this means that you believe in something that can't actually be proved by science, but that you are living every single day. And the notion that you have that will, and not only that you have that will, but that will is capable of comprehending the universe around you, that your will is sort of, your ideas, your ability to comprehend the universe is a reflection of a reality, of an objective truth that is out there.
Did you get all that? So if we have free will, apparently it can't be something that's an emergent function of our brains. It has to be a reflection of an objective truth that is out there. Why would a concept internal to the brain be a reflection of an external truth?
That says to me that there is a God, there's a common source that stands behind that objective truth and stands behind the mind that can comprehend that truth.
Okay, so your brain works a certain way, therefore God. Color me unconvinced. Maybe Jordan Peterson will have a better answer.
The hints and the notion of whether we can know God exists. And the paradox is in part, you can't know God. And so can you know that something exists that you can't understand?
No. And therefore, you can't defend the existence of God.
And the answer is, well, maybe that's why you only see God's back in some real sense, right? You get hints, and maybe you get hints if you open yourself up in the right way.
So if you just make yourself believe, you can become convinced of it.
And one of the ways you open yourself up in the right way is not to ask for what you want in the God is a celestial butler manner, but to ask how it is that you could transform yourself so that you could be a better agent of the divine will or something like that.
So not just make yourself believe you're his servant. Why would an all-powerful divine will need an agent anyway?
What you find when you do that. When you embrace responsibility, what you find is meaning, which is a route to the divine.
Well, there are a lot of ways to find meaning, but this isn't about whether or not we can find meaning. It's about the best argument for the existence of God.
Well, the secularists would say, well, without God, you can still find meaning in service to others. And I would say, yes, that's true. But the reason you find meaning in the service to others is because that's one step on the ladder to the divine.
Well, that's convenient. Just define divine in the way that anyone finding meaning would be moving towards.
Well, Nietzsche said God is dead, and what's going to happen? Nihilism?
I'm just going to refer you to my recent video where I cover Albert Camus. Okay, let's check out a really stupid one.
This is your thinking. You're believing a contradiction.
When you can prove that there is any God, let alone your God.
Jesus rose from the dead. He already proved it.
Then you have... No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Prove it.
What year is it?
Prove it.
2023 AD, after the death of who? Not Buddha, not Muhammad, not Charles Darwin, Jesus Christ.
First of all, AD is not after death. It stands for Anno Domini, which is Latin for the year of our Lord. Specifically, it's medieval Latin, which came around about 500 years later. Second, what kind of proof is a calendar? Does he think this is just how it always was? Is he wondering what people in BC were counting the years up to? It was actually devised in 525 by Dionysius the Lesser as a replacement for the era of martyrs. And that wasn't even the only calendar used by early Christians, let alone everyone else. It took centuries for it to be used just around Europe, finally becoming universal when Portugal adopted it in 1422. And Eastern Europe and Russia didn't use it to replace the Byzantine calendar until 1700, with the last ones finally adopting it in the 20th century. There's also in use an Islamic calendar where it's the year 1445, based on the year Muhammad and his followers migrated from Mecca to Medina. In the Hebrew calendar, it's the year 5784 AM for Anno Mundi, the year of the world. And yes, there's a Buddhist calendar as well, where it's now the year 2566, based on the date that Buddha achieved nirvana. Dumbest argument ever! And finally, according to Benny Johnson, here's a scientist who proves the existence of God.
Because the God of the Bible is not affected by time, space, or matter.
Yep, he's talking about bogus Dr. Kent Hovind. He got his fake doctorate from the fake Patriot Bible University. And this is it. Yep, they couldn't even afford a proper cross.
If he's affected by time, space, or matter, he's not God. The God who created this universe is outside of the universe. He's above it, beyond it, in it, through it. He's unaffected by it.
Then how, logically, can he have any effect on it?
So the concept that a spiritual force cannot have any effect on a material body, well then I guess you'd have to explain to me things like emotions and love and hatred and envy and jealousy and rationality.
Okay, that's a non sequitur that's dumb even by Hovind standards. Emotions are produced by chemical reactions in the brain. We know that. They're not spiritual forces.
I mean, if your brain is just a random collection of chemicals that form by chance over billions of years, how on earth can you trust your own reasoning processes and the thoughts that you think?
We can't. That's why we need reason and skepticism. We need to understand our cognitive defects and try to correct for them as much as we can.
The God that I worship is not limited by time, space, or matter. If I could fit the infinite God in my 3-pound brain, he would not be worth worshiping, that's for certain.
And yet, he has to be small and insignificant enough to fit inside a 6,000-year-old universe absent of any form of emergence. But we've seen tons of things that are too big to fit in Hovind's tiny, mushy brain.
Can that scientist please rob the Department of Education? I think you'd have a different country. Amazing.
Yeah, we've seen what happens in countries that are run that way. No thank you. But again, see the authoritarianism. He wants his religion forced on schools. He doesn't advocate the rational position, the only position consistent with logic and the NAP, which is to get rid of the Department of Education entirely. So thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, and go to donate.bogosity.tv to keep me doing what I do. And check out all the great content here, like this video selected just for you.